Happy Juneteenth. Welcome to the Juneteenth webinar for the Freedom Day Bailout, which is a partnership between the Social Justice Ministry at Ebenezer Baptist Church, the Multifaith Initiative to End Mass Incarceration, BARD Business, and many other community partners. We just want to orient you today with the bailout, why it's important, what the I Got 3 campaign is, tell you how bailouts work, talk about wraparound services. Finally, invite you to volunteer and support the bailout and learn what we're going to be up to on July the 5th for the Freedom Day Fest. My name is Tiffany Roberts. I am the chair of the Social Justice Ministry at Ebenezer Baptist Church, and I am also the public policy director at the Southern Center for Human Rights, which is also a Freedom Day partner. I want to begin with what the Freedom Day Bailout is. The Freedom Day Bailout was an initiative modeled after the Black Mama Bailout, which bailed Black mothers out for Mother's Day. Ebenezer saw that example and launched the Freedom Day Bailout in honor of Juneteenth. The Juneteenth holiday, since we started in 2018, has become a bit more commonly celebrated across households in the country, but we know it as a Freedom Day when enslaved Africans in Texas learned of the Emancipation Proclamation over 2 years after it was signed by then President Lincoln. And bailouts are conducted in the tradition of Africans freeing one another. We know that the bailouts of the 2000s are not the first bailouts to ever happen. This is something that we have always done for one another. And so we are grateful to be living in the tradition of our ancestors when it comes to freeing one another. Why is bail important? Bail holds people in cages while they await trial. Most people who are in jail have not been found guilty of any offense. And whether you believe in prisons or not, I think we can all agree that if we enjoy a right to the presumption of innocence, people should not have to pay ransom to get out of jail when a judge has already determined that they are not a public safety risk. We have been working alongside organizers all over the country on what people refer to as bail reform. And bail reform is simply saying that if it's determined, once it's determined that a person should return home, money should not be the reason that they stay in cages. And this year, we found ourselves in a predicament because the state of Georgia engaged in war, not only on bail reform, but on bail funds like the ones that get people out or get people free for Mother's Day and for Juneteenth. And this happened through the passage of Senate Bill 63. Senate Bill 63 not only requires another 30 charges to force folks to pay cash bail, meaning through Senate Bill 63, there are now 30 new bail restricted offenses to add to the list of charges in Georgia that was already long. And a bail restricted offense means if you're arrested for one of these charges, the only way you can get out of jail is through paying money. You can't get what we call unsecured judicial relief. Some people call those recognizance bonds. Some people call those OR bonds, where you basically are signing and saying that you promise to come back to court. You promise not to violate the law. Well, now in Georgia, some of the charges for which you must pay ransom to get out of jail include criminal trespass and unlawful assembly. And this is even as people living without homes and shelter are living under our bridges and in our parks and often charged with criminal trespass. It's even as we're seeing more and more people exercise their right to free speech in assemblies, right? So that means people who are protesting as we move closer to the election, if arrested during a protest, will likely have to pay money to get out of jail. And we know that this will cause jails to be overcrowded and cause some of the additional harm that we'll talk about a little bit later during our talk. But one of the other things that Senate Bill 63 did is it said in order to bail more than 3 people out of jail after July 1st, 2024, you will have to be registered as a bail bonding agency. with all of the restrictions imposed on those companies, which means people who run treatment facilities wouldn't be able to bail more than 3 people out a year. People who run diversion centers would not be able to bail more than 3 people out a year. People who are running shelters, who are providing housing to people who are housing insecure, would not be able to assist them in getting out of jail if they were helping more than 3 people. Even a family, right? A mother with more than one child, more than one niece or nephew, or more than one family member who finds themselves in the crosshairs of the criminal legal system would not be able to bail more than 3 people out a year. And so as we move to this Freedom Day bailout, we know that it is different because it may be the last bailout for many years to come if legal challenges are not successful, if lawmakers don't reverse course and change the law. What you see on your screen is an article written by Bridget Simpson, who is on the webinar today, about why the legislature should have rejected this proposal. But unfortunately, the legislature did not heed the wisdom of people like Bridget and other folks in the community, and have now passed a law that is going to cause great harm to many people across the state, including in rural counties. This is just an article that was written by John Legend about Senate Bill 63. You can Google and find it, but the widespread harm of this bill is something that is being monitored on a national level. And in addition to it being warfare against poor people, it is also warfare against any person who wishes to exercise their First Amendment right to assembly and speech. Let's talk about Fulton County specifically, which is one of the facilities that most of the bailout participants we help come from. The Fulton County Jail is now being regarded as one of the most dangerous jails in the country. And that's not, I'm not saying that to be alarmist or to sensationalize what we're talking about today, but just to put a human face to the very real harm that is caused when thousands of people are warehoused in cages as they await trial, rather than them being allowed to come home and return to court from communities that love them, rather than them being able to support their own defense, to work with their attorneys from home. They are not only just held, but they are in great danger. In the last 2 years, 28 people have died in the Fulton County Jail. And sometimes that happens because of violence, but also many people have died in this jail, and the only line in the newspaper is that they were found unresponsive in their cells. That means this isn't a problem that the proposed new $2 billion jail can fix. This is a problem. This is a crisis of humanity. This is a crisis of care. This is malpractice on the part of anybody in Fulton County responsible for the custody of people who are incarcerated while they await trial. We talked a little bit about bail, and bail is the amount of money paid for a person to be released from pretrial incarceration. And the bond part is your bond, your word, your promise, right? And it is the promise that's given to the government that the person who pays the bail will return to court. And it doesn't always require money, right? So you can be on a signature bond, or what we call an unsecured judicial release, which is your signature is all that's required for you to be released. But bail, when attached, cash bail requires money. And with Atlanta being #1 for wealth, income inequality, and Georgia being #1 for the number of people under correctional control, and Georgia being one of the states who incarcerates. Georgia, if it was a country, would incarcerate more people per capita than any industrialized nation in the world. So this is no small issue. Bail and arrest are one of the gateway issues when we're talking about mass incarceration broadly. So how does the Freedom Day bailout work? We get referrals from communities and from public defenders most frequently, and they fill out a referral form. And after we review the referral form, most years we just then move on to the assessment. And the assessment is something Bridget will talk to you about, but we assess what the person's needs are. This is not a risk assessment, right? This is an assessment of what people need and whether we can, in good faith, say we can help them acquire or access services that meet those needs. After the assessment process, then we decide if the person is approved for the bailout. Often the approval is based on the support piece and whether we have enough money to help the person. And then that is communicated through one of our liaisons, and we begin to bail people out. This year, unlike other years, we are commencing bailouts the week following Juneteenth through the end of June, just to account for what is going to happen when Senate Bill 63 becomes effective. So we are launching the bailout today, which is Juneteenth. And then from Juneteenth through the 24th of June, we will be reviewing applications. And then that week, we'll begin to bond community members out of jail until the end of June. Community embrace is what happens when folks are just waiting in the parking lot for people to come home, providing rides or meeting the loved ones of folks who need to get home. We know that bailouts are not charity, they are justice. They are direct actions, meaning they are just like marches. We are amplifying the harm caused by cash bail by bailing our folks out of jail, right? Demonstrating the love and care that they should be receiving from everyone, including the government. I'm going to introduce you to Reverend Devin Crawford, who is going to talk to you about the I Got Three campaign.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for the introduction and for your brilliant work in leading these efforts over the years. My name is Reverend Devin Jerome Crawford. I'm privileged to serve as the National Director of the Multifaith Initiative to End Mass Incarceration. To be sure, these are no ordinary times. With the introduction of Senate Bill 63, we are really in a moment of moral urgency as it relates to bailing out our loved ones, our justice-impacted siblings, for such a time as this. And in response to this introduction of this, I would say, morally wrong-headed legislation, which limits charitable bailouts to no more than 3 people per year, as you've heard Attorney Roberts say, and expands cash bail to more than 30 plus offenses, Multifaith EMI, along with our partners at the Southern Center, Bar Business, and several others within our coalition, has launched the I Got Three campaign. As this bill really strikes at the heart of charitable bailouts that our coalition, including Ebenezer Baptist Church, the Temple, Trinity Presbyterian, St. Luke's, and others, striking at the heart of what we've been able to do over the years. This is an opportunity for us to deepen our efforts to secure the release of our incarcerated siblings who cannot afford bail in preparation for Mother's Day as well as for Juneteenth. We've been privileged to partner with Bar Business in the recent Mother's Day bailout and looking to deepen our efforts coming up on the Freedom Day. So SB 63 disproportionately impacts, as many of us know, Black, brown, and marginalized people who are already over-targeted by the criminal legal system. By limiting the ability of charitable organizations like churches, like social impact groups, like families, this legislation perpetuates a cycle of poverty and separation of families, as those who are unable to afford their bail remain incarcerated without conviction. It really reinscribes this idea of unconstitutional debtors' prisons that we have been fighting in this country. And it affects those who are seeking employment, housing, and parental rights in their families. So I Got Three has taken several initiatives to deepen the impact of faith communities, prevailing upon our beloved sisters and brothers in the faith community to support charitable bail funds, but also engaging in public information efforts. So we've been able to host over the past few months something called a Good Trouble Lab, a nonviolent direct action teach-in, and one was focused particularly on this legislation and provided training for laypersons as well as clergy members to participate in their own education sessions within churches, within their homes, to continue to conscientize our coalition on how we can be helpful and to deepen our efforts. We've also participated in a repathon that the Southern Center for Human Rights has hosted to further prevail upon our siblings across the length and breadth of Georgia around the impact of SB 63 and how we can leverage and pool our resources together to support our justice impacted siblings. And finally, along with this work of bailouts, community celebrations are also critical. So we're key and really privileged to host a Mother's Day brunch with Bar Business to celebrate not only those who were released this year, but also in previous years to be able to exercise love and practice beloved community one with another. And we seek to do this again on July the 5th for a Freedom Day Fest, where we bring together all those who've been supported within the bailout efforts, as well as those who want to continue this fight beyond July 1, as we think about how we strategize to support our sisters and brothers who are incarcerated. We want to invite everyone out as we will host this at Ebenezer Church on July 5th. More details will be forthcoming, but all together, there's something that we can all do as we support our justice impacted siblings through I Got 3 and really prevailing upon our criminal legal system to value freedom and liberation for all.
Next, we're going to hear from Bridget Simpson, the other half of this brilliant I Got 3 strategy, and the director of Bar Business, who has been one of our bailouts partners since its inception, or Bridget has for sure. So anyway, Bridget, please take it away.
Greetings, everyone. As Tiffany and Reverend Crawford have said, we are in perilous times. SB 63 has pretty much put handcuffs on the way we are able to help our marginalized poor folks secure bail. And as Tiffany shared before, this isn't a new phenomenon. Dr. Martin Luther King, through bail efforts, was bailed out of many of the situations that he was in. Several civil rights activists have used this. We have been historically paying for the freedom of Black folks for a very long time, since the inception of slavery. So we just want to name that this is a part of our radical Black tradition. And it hurts that it has come to this, but also celebrating that as a community, we have brought it this far. And I am confident that we will figure out ways to get our people free. And what Bar Business provides, we provide support to the folks who are being bailed out. That is something that's really important. And it's also a very responsible thing to do. We make sure that we're not causing further harm after being in the system that we help to bring people out to homelessness. So we provide wraparound services, one of which we have a house for women, the stable house. So if there's, we always try to make sure that we have emergency housing for the folks that we're bailing out. We make sure that folks have what they need, just basic needs, right? Like you never know how important it is to have feminine hygiene products as a woman being released from jail or prison. So we make sure that we see the needs, we see the person, and we see the person as a whole and not just as a cash bail, because people are more than just the cash bails that we contribute to get them out. These are human beings. So we make sure that we're working in the lens of humanizing the folks that we're bailing out as well. And that happens through welcome home celebrations. Like Reverend Crawford talked about what we collectively did at Ebenezer Baptist Church for Mother's Day. It was absolutely beautiful. Some of those women never got flowers in their lives. So there is a transformation that happens when we do transformative things. So I'm really especially excited about this bailout, especially since it's so close to July 1st, because I believe that we have opportunity here collectively, especially with the I Got 3 campaign for faith leaders to really be able to collect and bring together our resources to make sure that this bailout is the best ones that that we've had, right? We are not going out, but we can still have a bang, right? So we are asking and urging different faith leaders to just dig into their heart and to sponsor 3 people. Their congregation can sponsor 3 people, and we will make sure that they are supported and that they are loved. Tiffany again shared about our assessment process. This is not an assessment of risk assessment, but it is a need assessment, which is a very different thing. We make sure that folks are able to have their needs, their basic needs, a place to live, like, folks have access to support. And that's very important as we bail people out. And we don't want to bring them from one horrible situation to the next. So I thank you all, and I encourage you all to participate in this. I got 3. Reach out to Reverend Carford. He will make sure that he gets whatever love and donations that folks want to share and participate in this I got 3. And thank you. We hope to see you on July 5th. And we also hope to see you on the actual bailout days so that you can welcome each and every person home with us. Thank you.
I want to move on just to provide some links for what you mentioned with regard to here are the links you can use to volunteer for Community Embrace. Community Embrace is going to the jails and welcoming folks home. It's just bit.ly Freedom Day Volunteer 24. And then if you'd like to donate to the bail fund, you can go to basically this link, which is pushpay.com/G/Ebenezer Baptist Church Atlanta, or you can just go to ebenezeratl.org, click give, and note bail fund in the memo of the giving form. And if you'd like to contribute to the wish list, we like to welcome people home with the care package that goes beyond like toothpaste and socks. So this is an image from the Amazon wish list, and you'll see that one of those things are eye masks. But we want to provide care products and also products that make people feel held and loved. And you can do that by just going to bit.ly Freedom Day /Freedom Day wish list. And if you'd like to get in touch with Ebenezer, the social justice ministry regarding the bailout, you can just visit email if you're into that kind of thing, as Bridget says, freedomdaybailout@gmail.com. It's just that's an inbox that many people have access to. And so you don't have to worry about emailing the church directly. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We can make sure that those links are available in the description for this video so that folks can access them. It's Juneteenth, and so we know many of you are celebrating. You're spending time with your families and showing gratitude for the freedoms that you do have. And so we are grateful that you just took a couple of minutes to spend time with us to learn more about what we are doing in Georgia, and just knowing that this is the launch of much harder work. The I Got 3 campaign and all of the advocacy around this will endure for as long as this fight demands that of us. And so we will move on to discussing how community members can speak with your elected officials, your local sheriffs, your local judges, your city commissions, your county commissions, your city councils, right? About how they can mitigate the very real harm that Senate Bill 63 will cause. We want to know what your stories are. So when we talk about coming to Freedom Day Fest, we want to provide an opportunity for people to share their experiences, like many of our businesses, organizers, and care navigators and participants have shared their stories, not even their stories of trauma. What does it feel like when people hold you and care for you? And what should others be doing? So the Freedom Day Fest will provide more information, and we'll provide a link in the description of this video to get more details about the Freedom Day Fest as well. But it's an opportunity for us to come together and to celebrate that we are here, and we are here to fight, to hold one another, to take care of one another, and to model what love and justice actually look like. Peace, y'all. Thank you for joining us.
Take care, everyone. Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.